Hello, my fellow readers. This is iDarkSymphony777 with another fan fiction review. As always, the links to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story, and finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, I'm doing two stories today. The first one is Split Mindset Redux. I don't know why I forgot about the set. This was actually personally suggested by the author herself. She basically had a birthday, and she actually wanted me to review the story as a birthday gift. This is going to be the first story. And I'm trying to remember what I said about the original Split Mindset. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because I reviewed over 500 fanfictions. I cannot remember every single one I've done. I said the original Split Mindset was fine for what it was. It was just suffered from being way too short for the story it's trying to tell. Again, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But I think that was my only issue with that original story. It was just too short. This story completely fixes that. This is around 74,000 words. And it's really good. I will spoil you. This is probably her best story. The best story she has written. It's very close to Better Off Alone. Not super close, but it's in that ballpark where you actually start to consider putting it in Better Off Alone tier. It's that good. So what's the story? So the story starts instead of the original Split Mindset, where it kind of starts with Warren introducing all the Koopalings to Topaz the parrot. We actually start with a flash forward, where we get a mindset of one of Morton's shards representing depression, kind of wandering around. I think Tostarena. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm meeting this guy named Antonio, and kind of wondering how he got in this situation, trying to remember how he got in this situation. And then we get Martin introducing the Koopalings to Topaz, who is this very snarky, sarcastic parrot. And Topaz doesn't really like Morton at first. He's like, Topaz just got smooching up to, crap, is it Larry or Lemmy? One of them, because it's like, oh. Crud. Crud, where is it? Larry? There it is. Larry. I was trying to remember. Got into Larry's shoulder and just kind of smooching up on him. And then Iggy overhears, well, all the Koopalings overhear Morton kind of just bumming himself out because Topaz is paying more attention to one of his brothers than Morton himself, but Iggy decides to do something about it. So he basically finds out that a prankster comet reactivated. It was basically very inert, and now it just randomly reactivated. It's messing with Kamek's spells, so he's planning on just destroying it. Iggy asks them, "Can I have like a little small shard?" It's like, "What are you going to use it for?" "I will use it for some experiments." It's like, we're throwing it. Give him a shard. Fine. Iggy gets a small shard, makes the personality splitter, splits Ludwig's as a test. So he actually got what are the full names of Ludwig's personality? Fear, rage, musical inclination, determination, and sarcasm. And I would just say, I freaking love sarcasm. He's just hilarious. I know he's technically a personality trait, but come on. He's just, sarcasm was just funny. So basically, after splitting up Ludwig's rage actually completely, starts using his power, causes damage to the ray gun, short circuiting. Everyone's kind of getting worried. Like Iggy's like, nah, it's fine, guys, it's fine. So when he goes in, he barges in. He gets right. He points the gun at Morton. He's like, and he zaps him. All the personality break, like, completely short circuits, and all the shards fly away from the castle. So now all five of the everyone, including Ludwig's personality splitters, have to go find all these shards of Morton and try and bring them back together. They are laziness, laziness. I'm trying to remember what the third one was. Laziness, food, chattiness, morality, and then depression. And when it comes to Morton shards specifically, I like a lot of the little details scattered throughout the stories. For one thing, all of Morton's shards are actually interconnected through depression. So as someone who has depression, or I'm kind of going in and out of it because a lot of my depressive stuff has been mental, related to my family and all that. I'm away from my family. I've been away from them for a year, and I'm actually getting better. It's still coming sometimes, but it's like I'm much better mentally than I was a year ago. Chattiness. A lot of people who have depression don't really like to talk about it, which is true. Laziness. A lot of people who suffer from depression tend to sleep a lot. This is actually true. Tiredness is actually a common side effect of when you get depression. Morality. This one's actually the most complex one. A lot of people who suffer from depression really believe they have like the morality of not wanting to put their burdens onto others. And that's something I had to deal with. Like when I suffered depression, I really didn't want to put my issues onto others. I still don't. Like I have a friend from Germany. He really doesn't. He has like a lot of money, and he wants to get me a new Fumo. And I was like, for a bit, it's like I didn't want you to spend your money because he's considering building a house and stuff like that. I don't want you to spend the money on me. He's like, dude, just let me spend the house on you. And everyone convinced me to get him buy the Fumo. It's like, all right, I'll pay Koishi. Give me Koishi. She's friendship. she's adorable. You witness the adorableness. Lover, foodie. Technically, the official title of that chart is love for food, but they showed it to foodie. Foodie is connected in that just like tiredness, a lot of people who suffer from like chronic depression do actually eat a lot. And I think this is like the only thing that I haven't gotten past, because now I'm like I do eat a lot. Luckily, I don't gain that much weight because I'm trying to regulate everything. I do have at least some way to limit myself. But yeah, all these shards are one way or another connected to depression as a whole. And I think that's a very nice storytelling detail. Now, going back to Iggy's problems, everyone keeps giving Iggy justifiably giving him crap about like, dude, why did you split up? Morgan's like, I wanted to help him. It's like, yeah, but you should have done it with a broken ray gun. It's like, what do you think, sarcasm? It's like, I don't know. It was fine shooting him. You're completely okay. You're being sarcastic. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just love sarcasm. And this story, he is hilarious. So every time, basically we get some moments of seeing how each of the Koopalings interact with the Shard of Morton, which is another small detail. Like this story is very, very heavy on small details related to depression, and if you don't understand depression, a lot of this stuff's gonna fly over your head. This is very much one of those, if you know, you know type of stories, and that's very much related to how the Koopalings, including the shards of Ludwig, interact with the shards of Morton. It's a very, very detailed discussion on how depression works, and I think it's very meticulous and very well thought out, and like the pieces that are moving. It's not a deep story. It's not a deep story. It's just very much they just want to find their brother. Even at the end, it doesn't really get any more complex. At least it doesn't get more complex. Like everyone kind of realizing how the fuck they bring them back together, and like Iggy's like, it's like I'll fix it. It's like why are you standing out in front of the castle for like an hour instead of fixing it? What? Good for you. Shut up, sarcasm. Yeah, I think I will shut up. I think the only like, okay, so even at the end where we kind of get a detail of Morton, kind of bears his soul. It's like the pieces kind of bear their souls to each other, and it's like, well, everyone has like all these accomplishments, and then Morton's just Morton, and that's kind of playing a part in depression, especially Iggy, who continuously rubs in his achievements in everyone's faces because that's kind of what Iggy does in this in Super Koopalings. He just kind of rubs it in. And Iggy freaks out because he's taking the blame, and even like the nice little detail where like at the end where like Iggy's like trying to apologize, and like the Morton shades are like, no, depression is caused by I'm being caused by a chemical imbalance. And he goes like, son of a bitch, it was anticlimactic. No, but that's not all. Like, oh thank God. it's the small stuff that if I didn't have depression, a lot of the stuff would just completely just I would have missed all this stuff. This is it's a well done, very simple but incredibly well done and well executed plot. Characters. Um, did I not say that I like sarcasm? Because I completely like sarcasm. I really really love him. He was hilarious. The Morton shades are really well done. You can't really do much with the terms in terms of like character development because at the end of the day, they're shades. They're meant to incorporate one facet of a personality, so there's not really much you can do on a character standpoint. As what, but as a shades to Morton as a whole, I really liked what Star did and went more in depth into Morton's character in this version than the previous version of Morton. The original version of Morton in the story was fine, but like I said, it giving the time to stretch everything out did Morton's character a whole host of favors, and it really made Morton's character really well done, especially in like the realism of how to express depression. That's another thing I noticed in a lot of media. A lot of people really don't know how to properly portray depression. I think this one actually did it pretty well. It's Depression is like one of those things you kind of have to know how depression works. Like either you experienced it or you knew someone who had to deal with it. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything, but yeah, Star knows what she was talking about with this. Iggy is the other main character, and I really liked what Star did with Iggy as well. She really made Iggy somewhat sufferable, like hammering, like kind of bringing up the point that he's kind of make at the beginning. Iggy's kind of making it about himself, like with the whole ray gun thing. Everyone's kind of telling him it's like the thing's short circuiting. You didn't want to do it. It's like, yeah, problem nothing. And it's just barged in, points the gun and fires. That's still very in your face, braggarty about it. There's a lot of nuance with Iggy's character that develops throughout the story. He's still very much like full of himself, but then he realizes over the course of the story, he's like, as he's kind of trying to piece things together, it's like, is it oppression about me? It's like and he's trying to figure out exactly what caused it, and he completely gets like heartbroken. The fact that it was for at least part of the depression was due to the fact that Iggy kept rubbing like his accomplishments into everyone's faces and all his prides and joys because he's the scientist. And it makes a lot of sense. And having Iggy like kind of slowly, it's not complete because I know this is one part of like a big list of stories. So Iggy doesn't quite get fully humble, but this is like the start of him starting to get humble. Like he realized that, oh, maybe I should lay off the bragging. And of course, I don't can't remember how it goes farther down the story, but I do realize he gets slightly more humble as the stories go on. I think it's a nice touch of like accurately portraying that better in this story. I think it's just really good. Uh, Grammar wise, I think the grammar is fine. There was one grammar error, but I honestly think as I was reading, she actually went back and fixed it. It was like I think it was in chapter 4 where there was like two word like accidentally said right twice. And when I went back to like show her, it's like it's gone. It's like, did she fix it? I'm pretty sure she fixed it. I fixed it. Pacing and sentence wise, I think this is the first time, like from a pacing standpoint, it paced perfectly. Uh, from a sentence, like a structure wise, this is the first story that I know that she's actually written in first person. And I will say, my only real complaint. This is really minor because there's actually understandable reason behind this. Is that when it comes to writing in first person, especially after you've written in third person for so long, the writing quirks don't seem to catch up to what a first person perspective is trying to do, because a first person perspective is trying to emulate the writing based on how the character you're telling the first person point of view from. So basically, the author star. I told you this in DM, but I have to say it here. She kept bringing in metaphors into Morton's writing. Morton is not the type of character, at least this version of Morton, is very much not the type of character to pull the metaphor stuff. That'd be more Ludwig's thing, because Ludwig kind of, since Ludwig's like very sarcastic and very witty, stuff like that. Metaphors seem like more better for him. But this is Morton, and seeing like all these metaphors that keep popping up in uh, Morton's writing, because we're seeing things from his perspective. It is kind of off-putting. I know this is like I know this is more just a habit of like this is just really just habit, because it's like, oh, you're so used to writing metaphors, because that's kind of Star's whole thing. Her writing style uses a lot of metaphors. I do think, but this was like the wrong time to use it, and but like I said, it's really just an issue of the author not really being used to writing in first person, and thus not realizing the nuances, and how like, you have to change things around, and that one is like you have to actually change your writing even a little bit. So the metaphor thing, just as like a future thing. I know, like I said, I said it to you in your DMs. Just next time you do first person, unless it's Ludwig, lay off the metaphors. When it's Ludwig, yeah, go wild with the metaphors. He's really just the type of person to do that. Like, I think therefore I am. That's Mozart. I'm pretty sure that was Macbeth. Shut up. Would I recommend this story? Yes, especially to those who either suffer from depression or someone who knows depression. I would recommend to them. Like, this is a very well thought out story, and I'm really proud. Like when I first read Star's first story, and I didn't particularly like it, because I don't remember if I liked it or not. Like I said, so many fan fictions, but I do remember like as the story went on, as the stories went on, and she was growing as an author, and now seeing this something that's legitimately great. I remember the last story I did of hers was with Celia's dad, Redux, which that was good. This is great. Like the fact that I'm even remotely considering and it's not a guarantee, not a guarantee, but like the fact that I'm putting in the ballpark of Better Off Alone tier kind of speaks for how much she's grown as an author. I don't really have anything more to say. Favorite part, honestly, where is it? I need to find it. Because it's literally, yeah, here it is. So my favorite part is just a sarcasm quote from this chapter. So basically, in context, Iggy just got depression away from Tesserina and brought him to Bowser Castle. So they open the door and they start talking. Depression set mentions how big it is. Iggy's like, yeah, yeah, I got used to it as the person who you were a part of. But still, it's always nice to see outsiders sneaking in. Helps humble me, as I guess you could say. And then sarcasm from far left says, how many outsiders should we bring to humble you in permanently? That was hilarious. This is like, that got a legitimate chuckle out of me. I freaking love that line. And I just thought it was hilarious. I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah, that is split mindset redux. So for how much praise I given to this story, I'm not gonna say the same thing with Too Late for Regrets by Sinbreaker. This is the final story of that Celti series that the author did. And I'm just so frustrated with this story. I am so frustrated. Because I'm gonna be frank, I don't like the story. For one thing, the plot barely matters. I mean, there is a plot here. It's basically like, okay, Celti wins the bet with Dr. Finithus about gods existing, and she turns out to be pregnant, and then her sister and her mom show up, and then basically everything and nothing and everything. They just like, you're welcome. And then there's also like a robot Celti. It's just it's it's so weird. I would have been fine if this was just like a random as pregnancy plot. And it was just like, oh, it's like building up for the whole robot Celti thing. Because Robo Celti was like foreshadowed in the previous story with the whole Enerjack thing, and she just waking up. I thought, oh, okay. But this is the fact this is the final story. Just leaves a really bitter taste in my mouth plot wise, because this was something that really should have been stretched longer. Maybe like a fifth story would have made more sense. Like this story should have just focused on the pregnancy and uh, Alice and Allison showing up, and just it didn't need Robot Celti, or at least barely needed Robot Celti. Just like the knowledge that she's like always somewhere. And the fact that the plot kind of ended on a cliffhanger with like Robo Celti still being out there, and Celti and Dr. Finitas getting married. Like, there's so much more that could have been done to kind of flesh things out even more. Like, it's I know I'm not really being clear with the plot, but this you have to understand. This is the fourth story of a very, very overly convoluted story that makes almost no sense. It's especially since the first story, I gotta give it a little leeway because it was like the author was still new. You can obviously tell, but the author had good ideas. They were executed well enough that I never have two complaints as a beginner story. Second story, completely a mess because it was way too much complex of a plot in way too short of a time frame. Third story was more simple about the interjack thing, and it's like okay, fine, I can get behind that, and the writing's improved. But this story, it's trying to be cute by trying to with finish like all these plot lines that have been kind of slowly building up and just car crashing without like next to no payoff. There's a whole thing with the bet. Okay, fine. I can find that's fine with the bet. Uh Celtic getting pregnant. That just comes plumb fuck out of nowhere. Like you were trying to artificially delay the entire story, make it longer. Because there was like no reason why they did any of that stuff. The fact that it's like they didn't even hint about it until like out of nowhere, like when after the mother shows up, that's kind of like, eh. Uh, the fact that Rosie the Rascal completely just looks older, and just eh. There's the chaotics, just completely. It's like, oh, we gotta get the chaotics, but it's like you didn't get any of them for like months. Like, I got now. There's even like unit whose motivations are like completely all over the place. She talked about like being like wanting robots and then taking over the world, and then she just randomly says she had like all the memories of Kate, and she's just doesn't know how to like work through them, and it's really just a mess. Plot line, character wise, Doctor Phoenix is fine. However, this is the fourth story, and Celti has not evolved as a character at all. Like the first story, she was fine, but after that, she just didn't. She didn't really. She stagnated, and she just fell flat as the story went on. Like you can do as much stuff as you want, but if she's not evolving as a character, if this was one long story, I would say the same thing. This is a series. As a series goes, you have to at least get them like learn a lesson or gain some kind of moral or something. The fact that she has not changed, like she does do like bipolar sort of deal, and that's just a stretch if you're going for like that's the whole foreshadowing of the pregnancy thing. That's like a really massive stretch if you're doing that because I know like pregnant women tend to get bipolar and get like PMS. I know this from my mom and my ex. I don't know if every single woman does that. From the two I know, it did do that. I don't know. I really don't. Grammar wise, there's a couple of grammar errors here and there. Sentence wise, I wanted to wait until this story just in case the writing didn't change. But this writing style is atrocious. Like this is trying to be this is trying to be cutesy. Like instead of like developing, it's just mostly dialogue. Like let's see, let's see. I gotta find it. Yeah, like Golden Chamber asked, and Venus gently took my hand, let me out of the room through a warp ring, and said, "We're all like this doesn't really need to be structured like that." Again, this is something that I tolerated in the first story because, like, okay, this is something a beginner author would do. But this is 4 stories in, and the writing style has not changed. This is very amateurish, and 4 stories in. No, this is like no. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, this is 9 stories in. That's less of an excuse. And I get why the author was going for this. Probably going for like a comic book vibe in the dialogue. It does not translate well to written word. There are certain things that simply work better in a visual standby than written words. There's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can accurately portray without detracting from the story. So that's what I think the author was trying to do. Just trying to emulate a style that doesn't follow through. I'm done with the story. I'm done with these stories. I'm not recommending it because it's just my favorite part, the fact that it ended. What would I change? Honestly, this should have been just split into 2 stories. Like you could have just this story should have just focused on the pregnancy, and then the whole thing with the robot should have been on in the 5th story. That's really all I can say. That's really all I can say. I'm just done with this. It's like a letdown, especially since this story is lumped with it. Yeah, I don't really have anything more to say. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and please kill me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't want to die. Killing yourself is horrible. But yeah, I will see you next time. And cut.